Instagram. We are live. We are live. I am so excited. Going to give it a few minutes to see if anybody's joining us live. But this is, for those of you watching the replay, this is the first ever Pathway to Purpose episode live. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'm excited for it. It's going to be freaking amazing. Hi there. It's going to be amazing. We're going to give it a minute until Shule comes on as well, but this is going to be such a deep conversation, but I have a feeling it's also going to be fun as well. Getting into purpose, because I got the download to create this series Pathway to Purpose yesterday. And as soon as I got the hit, I was like, my intuition was like, go now. There was no time to wait. And I reached out to Shule and I was like, oh my goodness, will you come? Will you do this with me? And she felt it in my energy and she was just as excited as I was. Here she is now, Shule. She was just as excited as I was. And I was going to think about this yesterday. When I got the download to create Pathway to Purpose, I started thinking, oh my goodness, will I and the many different directions. And I have a lot of people that ask, what is my purpose? They come to me for, hi Shule, how are you?
Hi, I'm so good. How are you?
Oh, it's so amazing to see
It's
you.
so good to
I'm great. I'm
see
great.
you.
Happy
Finish off
Friday.
what you were saying. I was like so into it. I was like,
For for anyone, I just want to introduce you first. Shule is one of my biz besties, more than a biz bestie. She's one of my besties, and she is also an amazingly talented and gifted shadow coach and energetic business mentor. She's freaking
thank
amazing at
you.
what she does, so
Thank
you'll love
you.
this conversation. But the reason Pathway to Purpose came through, when I got the name, when I downloaded the name, I kind of was thinking, oh, I don't know, purpose is just like a topic that people come to me and they think that purpose is one specific thing. And so they get confused with it. So before we get into your journey and your path to your purpose, can you give me a little bit of a vibe in on what purpose means to you?
What purpose means to me, I feel like this has definitely changed over the years. I think for me, the way that I see purpose is experience. Like, I truly believe that our souls are just here to just experience life. Like, you cannot make a wrong decision to your soul, to your higher self, who's come to earth to literally just experience everything that life has to offer. I used to think that purpose meant, okay, I have a mission and I must fulfill it, right? And it was just like, I kind of like held myself to these standards of you have to make the right aligned decisions in alignment with your soul's purpose, right? And it was just like I had a moment where I realized, and this like took me a while to get to on my journey, and you hear it a lot in this space, right? You have to like fulfill your mission and things like that. Before I got to learn this lesson that, oh, holy shit, I cannot make a wrong decision. There is no right path for me. There's just experience. And experience is constantly changing. Like your purpose, like, if we're talking about purpose, but it's like ever evolving, in my opinion, right? It's just like it's constantly changing. It's constantly under this like metamorphosis. Yeah, that's really the
I
journey.
love that. I love that. And I have the same view. I'm like, yeah, our soul came here to experience itself.
Mm.
Like life came to here to experience itself through us,
Yeah.
through this human existence, through this human experience. And I'm with you on that, where I thought fell into the distortion of thinking like you had to do it one way, like it had to be
Mm.
right. And I think so many people they come for readings and they want this exact pathway on how to get
Hmm.
there, that it's like, oh my goodness, am I going to mess it up? Like, what is my destiny? What is here for me? And exactly as you explained, there's no right way, there's no wrong decisions, there's no like God up in the sky gonna like punish you for what you're doing. Like it's
Hmm.
experience. Like God is all loving, all compassionate, and it wants you to experience it all, the duality and everything.
Yes.
So I love that.
We both did
Love your
those
opinion on it.
like we both fell into that. I remember I used to do like soul purpose readings, and that's what I would try and look for while I was like reading somebody's soul. I was like, what is their purpose? What are they meant to do in this life? And it's like, fuck, that's just such a loaded topic. It's ever evolving, ever expanding. There's just so much to it.
Yeah. And what I really feel that we were feeling into at the time, and I still do, because clients will still come and ask, and it's like, I see your highest
Mm,
possible timeline
mm,
or your highest possible trajectory with your energetic state with where you are now. Like, even if I see you on stage at the moment, that's just based on your energetic state right now. You can still change it, you can still glow it up. Like, so
yes.
it's just, as you said, it's ever evolving,
Yes.
ever evolving.
I love that.
So, can you share a little bit about how you got to where you are now in life in general, in your business,
Mm,
in anything? You feel free to take this whatever direction you want, because to me, ultimately, with purpose, it goes so deep that it's not just about a specific role;
mm.
it's about you living life to the fullest. Because if we're here for the experiences, it's you living life to the fullest, and that's something that I see you doing.
Yes. Okay. So I think for me, the journey into like entrepreneurship and doing like putting myself out there, having a platform, having a voice, because I started off having the podcast Closeted Soul. That was like the OG. And I started doing
Loved
that
it.
honestly. And to me, like that was such a big deal, right? It was such a big deal to put myself out there and to start speaking about things that were so honestly like not commonly accepted, right? People look at this work and they see it as like woo woo, or, they see it as like, these people, what the fuck are they on? Like, you know what I mean? Type of vibe. And I used to have that point of view towards like spiritual people because I was like an atheist. I had a really like logical linear way of thinking anyway. And then I had my spiritual awakening and I just wanted to share. And this is something that was always there prior to even me having an awakening. I always wanted a platform of some sort. I wanted to share and be a creative. And I just never allowed myself to truly go after that dream because I was so inundated with like, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? There was just so much there about like fear of rejection, fear of people judging me, leaving me. I really cared about other people's opinions of me to the point that when I had my awakening and I had the download to do like a podcast and start sharing my voice, what ended up happening was I tried to find ways around it. Like I was like, how can I create this? How can I do this in a way that nobody knows it's me? I was looking for voice disguising apps and things like that. I was like, I cover my face and I created an anonymous blog. I was terrified of being seen. So when I was in that stage, like for me to put myself out there on my own Instagram and to be like, just take up space as me and to actually start talking about this work in front of everybody that I knew, it was just such a liberation. And this whole journey was like me just becoming more of myself, me just liberating myself, really, just like learning to trust who I am at the core and follow my alignment above all else. And for me, I would say the biggest thing on like my pathway to purpose, like I feel like my biggest like lesson, and it's the one that I'm constantly coming back to, is like trusting myself. And I feel like every step of the way that has been what I keep being taught. So it's like when I first like took my steps into like, showing up, I had to like trust myself. I had to back myself. I had to like own what I was doing. And then I started to do the readings and I was in a community where everyone was doing readings and I didn't want to do the readings anymore, but I felt like I couldn't do that. Right. It's just like this constant theme of getting the guidance on what wasn't working for me, but not letting myself own that based on what others were doing around me. So that has very much been my lesson time and time again, even like with this next iteration of me, when I started to actually run programs and things like that for people. And I moved into like helping spiritual based entrepreneurs specifically. I really fucking distorted a lot of what was available to me. I capped a lot of like my abundance. Like I always tell the story over on my like socials on like I would attract like $0 months literally because I was so like again falling into the distortions and the patterns of what other people were doing in the industry, particularly when you start entering like the business industry. I know Cheryl and I talk about this all the time, but there's a lot of distortion about what you do, what you don't do, strategy conversations, and this really like again capped my magnetism, capped how I was growing. And again, I had to learn this lesson of that like I'm not supposed to do it that way, and my soul is here to do things in a different way. And it's this like constant coming back to self and how do you actually want to move? How do you want to express? Can you fucking express and take up space without worrying about what X, Y, and Z person is going to think, what X, Y, and Z person is doing? And that has always been like the just, I'm trying to, you know, the word that's coming to me, but is it
I
like,
feel like the theme, the
it's a
common
theme.
theme.
And you know what, like the word keeps coming to me. I don't know if you do this program or evolution spiral. You do that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did evolution, the
Yeah.
evolution spiral. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. I was like, that's like the best way to describe it. That's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely get it. But what I'm noticing there from what you're speaking, and I feel all of it as well, and I witness your journey and feel like I was on the journey with you. But it's interesting from the start to like putting your voice out there to the end, like following in, like falling into the distortion of listening to other coaches, other mentors. But I just want to bring it back to the very start because a lot of my audience or clients that come initially to start working with me, they fall into this as well, and they look to me or they look to you or they look to other people and think, well, it's okay for them, they can show up on social media, it's okay for
Mm-hmm.
them, they have a podcast, it's okay for them, they have an audience. And I think a lot of people forget or don't actually see and don't actually witness that we started off with
Mm-hmm.
0 followers. That you, and it's funny because you mentioned the podcast and trying to find the voice disguising app, because I set up my page was like, I started it off, I had a few different names. I was not going with Cheryl Byrne. Like, I did not want to be found. It's like, I want all the clients. Where are the clients? Why won't people
Yeah.
follow me? But yet I was putting up this energetic barrier of protection. It's like, you know, you can't be like, universe, I'm half in. Like, oh, show me my clients, but I'm not going to show myself to the world.
Yes.
It's like, are you half in or half out? So how did you find that you like navigated that? Because I find it's interesting. You mentioned like the rejection wound, and I think that was something that was definitely big for me that like played out through the entire journey.
Yeah. It was a big one for me. And I think I had spent majority of my life having left high school before I had my awakening, doing what I thought I should do, doing what my friends were doing, and trying to play the game of life in the linear society way, right? Like how everyone else was doing it. I went to university, I got a degree, I did really well in the degree. I was being offered jobs left, right, and center. I was paid really well. And I absolutely hated it. And I kept thinking, okay, maybe something else is like missing, right? So I was like, maybe I have to move out, whatever. So I start like moving out and I start like trying to change my outside. And then I realized, okay, it's nothing outside of me that is going to make me feel better. But I basically had driven myself to the ultimate like misalignment, depression spiral ever. I'm pretty open about my journey. I'm like a real like open book, but like trigger warning, I got to the point where I started to have suicidal thoughts. And it's not like something was actually like wrong in my life, right? Nothing was wrong in my world. It was just I was so misaligned with everything that I was doing, right? I had a loving partner, loving friends. I had like a nice home. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everything seemed, I was doing things, right? But there was just, I just ended up becoming so depressed through doing what I thought that I should be doing. And because of that like time in my life, like I've never felt like that misaligned, that scared, like I was just at like a total rock bottom. I was getting anxiety attacks so much that I experienced like the worst misalignment possible, to the point where I was like, there is literally no other option for me to listen to what my soul is wanting me to do. There is no other option for me to actually do what I want to do, because it's too painful for me not to do what I want to do. And it was too scary to get to that point. So that is why I feel like I have always been able to like learn the lesson and just start like moving with how I was supposed to move initially. Like it's like I fall, I forget, and then I'm reminded of the lesson, but I'm always coming back to the lesson of like honoring myself because of how dark that time of my life was. It's like, you know, when something is just like it's like your turning point and it's like you'll never go back to that place. That was that moment for me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it really ties into so much of, like, there have been so many turning points in
Mm.
life. There's always, like as you said earlier on, it's that constant thing. But something that I feel would be really beneficial for people to go into is like that undercurrent, because this was with me. Anytime I had suicidal ideations or anytime I'd phases of depression, I still had this undercurrent within me, this desire within me to help people. And I thought it was the bizarrest thing, because I remember being so depressed but wanting to help people. And I was like, who am I to help people? And I know I've worked with clients as well that are in the depths of the despair. And I believe it's because we learn through contrast. But what would your words of wisdom be to those people who are feeling like, I can't help anybody because I'm so miserable
Mm.
myself?
I think the best thing that I could give to somebody who's currently in that experience would be to completely give yourself up to that experience of like the depression. Like that is, I know it sounds like counterintuitive, but when you're in that place where it's like you have a part of you that's like,
Hi there. Sorry, I
hello.
was saying hi.
No, I love it. Yeah, so it's like when you're in this place where you have two energies going on, the part of you that really wants to help people and the part of you that's like, but I'm so like, who am I to help people? I'm like, I can barely hold myself, blah, 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 blah. I have found personally when I've entered like periods of depression that those periods are prolonged because I'm fighting that state, right? I'm
Yeah.
not like giving myself to the experience. I'm thinking I shouldn't feel this way. I'm resisting it. And because I keep thinking that I shouldn't feel this way, that I'm resisting it, that I'm like, I should know better. I'm a teacher in this space, blah, 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 blah. I keep amplifying those feelings and they keep coming up to be heard. And I keep like, I just keep playing there, right? I'm not allowing the experience to pass through and be an experience. I'm holding on to it. So, for me, when I've been in that place, the best thing for me to do is to just completely let go, no longer resist the experience. And letting go looks like an actual letting go. It's always funny to have this conversation about letting go because people are like, how the fuck do you let go? And it's like literally this, like you're holding something and then you let go. Like that's how simple it gets to be. And that is like genuinely what I do in those situations. I let go and I allow myself to experience the depths of the despair, the depression, whatever it is, and I don't judge myself. I witness the thoughts that are there, the self-judgment, all of the things, and I just let it pass. I don't respond to it. I don't react to it. Whenever I react and respond, that's when I start to like actually get entangled with it and it prolongs. But when you actually just take a step back and you let it just pass through, what ends up happening is it dissipates, and that part of you, I always call this like the split energy. It's like that part of you that's like, this, like, I know what I'm supposed to do. That part of you that's like, I know that there's a lesson in this. I know that I'm receiving a code right now that's going to help the people that I'm here to help. Like, I know that this is happening for a reason and I get to turn this into gold. Like that part of you naturally starts to lead anyway, once you stop resisting the experience. And then it just like shifts, right? It does shift. You've had that experience before, right? It
It dissolves. It
dissolves.
just dissolves off
Yeah.
you. You dissolve
Yes.
into oneness. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, that I was in those cycles as well, where I was resisting things.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's like, I shouldn't feel this way. It should be another way. I know how to do these things. This is what I do with my clients.
Mm.
I do breath work. I do yoga. I do all the
Yeah.
things. I have so many amazing tools, and then sometimes a lot that I got caught up in for so long, but a lot of clients, they're kind of like, I'm sick of like the tears, I'm sick of doing this, I'm sick of like going to the depths. But it's like, have you fully gone there? Because exactly as you were saying, am I freezing or is it you?
You're,
You're freezing.
yeah, you're freezing. Yeah. I kind of missed what you were saying there.
Wait, come on. Because this piece that you're talking about is the resistance piece. When you don't actually allow yourself to go there because you think you're a teacher in this space, because you think it will make you a bad person, because this motherfucker in here has got some evil thoughts. There's some thoughts that like, and I know the clients that or the audience that are in my world, they have such big heart spaces, and I'm sure it's similar. You draw in amazing people, but it's like they feel bad. They don't want to think those thoughts because they're perceived bad thoughts, but it's
Mm.
our ego. We have both
Hmm.
the light and the dark, and it's until your soul came here to experience the duality. So until you experience and have the willingness to go to the depths of the darkness, you can't transcend it.
Yes, exactly right. And just everything that you shared there on it's the thoughts of I'm a teacher, I guide people through this that keep people from fully experiencing what they're supposed to experience. And something that I like to remind my clients, and I also love to remind myself in those times, is that those moments are why your clients like hire you or why your people like are drawn to you. It's those moments, how you lead yourself through those moments, the fact that you open yourself up fully to those moments, like those are the moments that like give you the codes that change people's lives. Like it's just like those moments are so important. I would say
Oh,
like
they really
just
are.
more important, like just as important as like the wins and
Yeah. And I think, if anything, probably more important than the
mm,
wins, because we can't experience the joy of the wins when we're like holding on and stuffing down so much shame and anger and guilt or
absolutely.
grief. But it's like something you were saying there as well, and it completely left my mind. I'm like, come back to me. Um, no, I think it's
Oh,
gone.
it's
It's
gone.
gone.
That's okay.
It's gone. But I loved everything you were saying. I was agreeing with everything you were saying. Oh, it was this piece around what I used to do as well, which really like delayed it. It was kind of like I'd go into a practice or be sitting in the discomfort, and then I'd be thinking, my mind would be bringing these thoughts into my head of transcend this, and then you'll get to the next level in your business.
Mm.
And it became very attachy, this grippy energy of I need to transcend this, and then I can help more people. I need to transcend that, and then and that didn't work either, because I was attaching to an outcome,
Mhm.
and I was almost like being conditional. But those parts of me that wanted to feel and experience what it needed to experience. Have you
Oh,
experienced that as
oh
well?
my God, yes. Have I experienced that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just thinking, like, as you were talking, I was like, oh my God, doesn't this bring us back to what we were saying at the start around purpose being experience, right? And that's a form of resisting your now current moment with whatever like with what you have, and you're resisting your experience and trying to move on to the next experience. And it's such a fucking trap, it's such an illusion, because as soon as you even get to that next experience, it's like you're then looking for the next experience, and it's never you're not actually in life, you're just constantly fighting and like trying to be like one step ahead of life, and you're not fully receiving everything that like this now moment has to give to you, has to offer to you in every sense. So it's yeah, I'm like, have I been stuck in that? Oh my God, yes.
I think you touch on it so beautifully there. It's like resisting the now
Mm,
moment. And I think the now moment is such a gift, because it actually shows you what is here. When we're not able to be here, it's because we're caught up in the past, or we're addicted to some future outcome. And
mm,
that could be not even a 3D attachment, but um like wanting to feel a certain way as well, which,
yeah.
as you say, it's such an illusion to like be escaping the now moment and making lack out of this, the here and the now straight away. And it's
Yes.
like, how can you create from that place? You can't.
You can't, and I feel like you miss out on the purpose of this
Yeah,
experience, which,
completely.
go ahead.
Go on,
No,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
I know, I was just going to say the theme, it's interesting that the theme that you've brought in there from the beginning of the journey um to where you are now, we were even mentioning, so the thoughts of other people, like who you might know when you're putting things on social media, to then it becoming, because I feel like you worked through so much of that beautifully. But then it's the other piece around almost giving power to other coaches or mentors, and
Mm.
like
Mhm.
wanting the strategy, the right strategy. How have you navigated that piece in your
Yeah,
business?
that has been ever evolving, and I think like for me, I really learn through doing. So I'm a 1-3 in human design. So I've like literally everything that I teach, I've like put into practice. I've experienced personally. It's like my thing. So for me, I remember when I first got called to do like, like coaching for people, not coaching, but like courses and things like that for people. And I had no expectation. I was in pure potentiality energy. I was listening to my intuition. I had no idea where it was going to lead me. I had no idea how to launch a masterclass, how to create a program. I had no idea. All I had was the download, the idea, the go ahead from my intuition. I had nothing to compare it to because I'd never really experienced what it's like doing courses and things like that for people. So I was like, fuck it, let's go. And when I went that month, like I made like just below a 10K month, right? No strategy, nothing other than my alignment, my intuition, following that. As soon as I had that month, right, I had also left my job that month. So as soon as that month happened, I was like, okay, now in order for me to sustain this, I need to hire a strategy coach and I need to get my strategy in order so that I can continue killing it, right? So that was what like my biggest lesson really like stems from, because I went on this journey from 6 months like after that point where I was slowly seeing my income drop, right? And it was like I would have like some good months and then it was just slowly like dropping. And I was desperately trying to hold on, and I was doing all of the strategy. I was like, okay, if this is dropping, it means it's my marketing, it's my wording, it's my offer, it's how I'm showing up, it's this, it's that. And I was constantly nitpicking everything that I was doing as I was showing up, and my words, how I was selling. I was in comparisonitis. I would go online and be like, that person's doing so much better than me, or that person said this better than me, and I'm saying it's so shit and it doesn't make sense and people don't know what I'm talking about. And I just became like fucking fixated on it. So through that, I basically experienced $0 months after $0 months, the money completely leaving my bank account, right? It was just like I basically manifest my worst case scenario, because that was the experience that I was resisting so hard. I was trying to make that not happen. And then of course it happened. And that was a beautiful moment because it was like my opportunity to move beyond the attachment to the money in the bank account, the money in the business, what it needs to look like. And again, it was like that moment of like, okay, I've tried doing it this way for so long and it doesn't work for me. I have nothing else to try. So let me now try. And instead of putting other coaches on a pedestal, other people on a pedestal, results on a pedestal, can I just put my intuition on a pedestal? I have nothing else to trust right now. It's like I've tried the other things, it's not helping. So let me, like, this is the only thing I haven't tried. I haven't tried trusting myself. I haven't tried not questioning myself. I haven't tried just saying what I want to say and showing up in the way that I want to show up. I haven't tried not comparing myself, right? So then I started to do that. And then of course, as I started to do that, the momentum starts to momentum, right? The results start to like compound, and I'm just like, so I learned through that experience of reaching my rock bottom, having $0 in my bank account, literally making $0 months in my business, to learn this lesson of, it's like, it has nothing to do with your strategy. It has everything to do with the energy in which you show up for your business, right? For your offers and all of the things. So that is how I learned that lesson. And that's how I
Yeah.
stopped like putting people on a pedestal, because I was like, I had done it for so long and it led me to feeling misaligned, first of all, like feeling so misaligned, and then also in an experience of like so much like lack and struggle in my external reality.
Mm, absolutely. And I feel like I relate to so much of what you're saying because I remember that at the start of my business, just having the sheer curiosity and just been like, oh, I got a hit to do
Mm,
a free thing. I'm going to do the free thing.
mm,
And that led to whatever it led to. And then I started getting more into strategy things. And I think it's beautiful and it can be supportive to have
mm,
strategy.
mm,
But I think exactly as you're saying, it's about the energy first, it's about frequency
mhm,
first. Strategy can support us and it's so amazing and powerful to do, but I definitely give my power away to, and no coach will ever take your power from you. It's like you give it
mm,
away.
mm,
And I think it's so beautiful because in that place there was no other way to do it, or else we wouldn't have come to this way. We were meant to learn in that exact way, because I think sometimes people are like, oh my God, I regret investing in that coach, or I regret investing in that mentor. And I don't regret ever investing in anyone, because I'm like, I still learned so much from them. And I
mhm,
remember working with a mentor last year, and she was saying to me, and she works primarily, and you worked with her as well, primarily in frequency. And she was like, you're not doing anything wrong, Cheryl. You're not doing
mhm,
anything wrong. It's the illusion that you keep thinking that you have to fix all these problems. And it's just like, just keep going and keep believing in the unseen, and you will get
mhm,
there. And that is the thing. I think so many people are so uncomfortable. And again, it's the resistance to this now moment, because it's sitting in the discomfort to believe when it doesn't appear that anything is working,
mhm,
to believe even if the clients aren't coming in yet. And again, it's that piece. It's like coming back to your center, exactly as like you teach your clients to trust themselves. And I love this about your work, and I lead in a similar way, whereas it's like, we're not trying to tell somebody what to do. It's like, can you trust in yourself? Can you allow yourself to go to the depths? But particularly in my work with, I do a lot of inner alchemy with people, and it's like, go to the depths of the shadows so that you can let go of everything, the crap that's holding you back from fully being in alignment with your soul and having that access to your intuition. And I know that you're such a big believer in that, in giving people, not giving people their power, but allowing people to access their
mhm.
power. And can you just speak a little bit more to that, of like what you do with your clients
Yeah.
to help them access that part of themselves? Because I know people would love to hear that.
Yeah, for me, I like that's the most important part of the work that I do. I will never give somebody the answers. I'm always the reflector on like, shadows and blocks, and I'm always like putting it back onto the client for them to reflect on and see how things feel for themselves. Like for me, it's so important that somebody walks away from my containers, my spaces, knowing how to lead themselves, knowing how to trust themselves, no matter what you want to do in life. If you're here to live an intuitively led life, a spiritually led life, then you have to be able to trust yourself at all costs, because your intuition knows how you're here to evolve, knows how you're here to grow. It knows what's available to you. It knows just how much can come your way. It is the limitless version of you. And every single time I've allowed this part of me to lead myself, I have always been like fucking blown away with how simple this really gets to be, how easy it is to actually attract abundance, opportunities, and all of the things. And I know that that can be like quite triggering for people to hear sometimes, because they're like, what the fuck? Like, it hasn't been easy. And I get that, because I've had those experiences, but it's usually because we're getting in the way of it being easy. So for me, it's been like showing somebody how I do it, how I lead myself, how I get results, and like having them replicate that is only going to lead to them stagnating. Maybe it gets them like some results, but it's not really going to actually be that like forward moving energy in their business, in their life, that leads to the things that they truly desire. So it's like you need to know how to lean into yourself and to trust yourself at all costs. And my biggest, like, my biggest advice here, if this is a skill that you want to learn, I highly recommend getting a mentor that leads this way, that puts your
Mm,
intuition even above their own, and is that basically can constantly highlight and reflect this part of you back to yourself, because it's very easy to get taken away by your distortions, by doubt, by what other people are doing on the internet, da 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 da. And that's why I love like mentoring spaces. And that's why you and I are constantly investing in mentors, because it's like just the gift in having somebody who sees value in your intuition and sees value in like constantly reflecting your truth back to you, right? You spend less time fucking around with distortion and doubt and ego and basically going in circles, and you spend more time actually learning what it is to hear your intuition, see your intuition, telling your intuition apart from your ego, and then moving with that alignment, moving with that inspiration that leads to that like forward moving momentum in your life, that leads to that growth, that leads to that like uncapped abundance, is honestly what it feels like, because it feels like you're just constantly attracting those aligned opportunities. It's just like, and you're actually like enjoying life, you're in the experience of life, and it feels like life has got your back, right? When you
Yeah.
move like that, when you move with your intuition. Did I answer your question?
Completely.
Or
Yeah.
did I just go all over the shop with
Yeah.
that?
No, you did.
Okay.
Absolutely, you did. And that is the biggest thing. It is. And it comes back to something you said earlier on in the conversation. This is all down to trust. This is all down to trusting yourself and trusting that if you have a desire to do something, whatever that is, because I know even some of my audience, they are in jobs and they're like, I like my job, but they're just like, they're still looking for that depth of fulfillment within them. And it's like, this is exactly it. Your intuition is going to get you there. Your soul already knows. Your mind doesn't know, because your mind is going on your past programming. And it's just kind of like, you can't live to this depth of fulfillment by following your mind. It's not logical. It is not logical to just throw caution to the wind and do things that appear scary, that don't make any sense. But it's like when you look back and you see the perfection of how things have unfolded, then you're like, wow.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you fully just trust that even when it doesn't make sense, it's going to make sense someday?
Yeah. It's the most, it feels like just the most fast moving frequency there is, honestly. When you move like that, when you actually grow like that, like it really is moving with this like limitless part of yourself, and it does make sense eventually, and then you start to receive, like you see the results for yourself in your own life, and then you're like, oh holy shit, like why was I ever questioning this? Oh holy shit, why was I ever questioning this? It's just like, it's such a fun and magical frequency to walk with. And the thing is, like, I find that so many spiritual entrepreneurs, they want to move like this, right? They know they want to listen to their intuition. They don't want to be like capped by rules. Like that's what they're moving away from, you know what I mean? That's what they're breaking away from. But it's so funny how when people get into like the business conversation and the business side of things, it's almost like all of that just goes out the window. It's like that just is like, whatever, like that doesn't apply to this. And it's just like, why? That doesn't make sense when we're talking about universal laws. And it's not like, okay, this applies to one area of your life and it doesn't apply to another. It's like, no, bring these concepts and these principles in your business and allow yourself to move this way, which is what you want. And once you allow yourself to trust yourself, you're going to blow your fucking mind with where you end up and what you realize is actually possible for you.
I love it. I love it. And before we finish up this conversation, a question came into my mind, because the way you're talking of living in this depth of flow, aside from business, just in life in general, I know for you from conversations we're having, but I just thought this would be a fun thing to bring in here. Like the way in which I move through life is so different, that I could be walking down the street and I'd be like, oh my God, there's a bird and it's so colorful. Or, oh my God, there's limes and it's so abundant. And if I heard me like 5 years ago, I'd be like, what the fuck's she on? Because people talk about, like, when we're having this abundance conversation, because I used to think of abundance and you hear gratitude been thrown around a lot of times, but when you're in this level of purpose, enjoying the creation that is here in this now moment, the lens in which you're looking at things is completely different. It is not fake gratitude. Like, we've all done the fake gratitude, making a list. Yeah, I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for this, but not feeling the frequency of gratitude. So do you have an example of when you're like, it honestly nearly just feels like you're stoned when you're walking around being like, this is so amazing.
Honestly.
What is your like, because for me, when I listen to coaches and mentors, it's always the smaller things. It's always the magical cup of coffee, or it's the, like, just something so little that just hits home with me so
Yes.
deeply.
Oh my God. It's those moments that actually like make my life feel so fucking full and abundant. It's those little moments of like putting your face in the sun, but not even that, like
Yeah.
being on a walk and having the rain hit my face, right? It was just like I have a really like fun story about that, but I remember once I was walking the dogs and I like it started to rain, so I put on a little bit of fake gratitude and I was like, "Oh, it's so beautiful. I'll just wait under the tree. I'll cover my hair." And then I was just like my intuition came in and it's like, you're resisting the rain. You're resisting this now moment. But I was like, oh, but I got to go on a live and my hair's going to be messy and blah, blah, blah. And then it was just like, okay, that was fake gratitude. It's like I wasn't fully receiving the moment because I didn't actually want it to be raining. And then I was like, okay, what would it be like if I just took the jacket off and stop covering my hair and stop hiding under the tree and just fully let myself like be in the rain, right? And just like just let myself receive the rain. And I did, and it was the most like magical, abundant fucking that stone feeling. That was like, it was so amazing, like that walk. And it was this message. The reason why I explain this story is because it was this message of like, I am learning, like the way to fully exist in this now moment is to not resist any aspect of life, even if it's raining. So it's like, okay, it's like in that moment, it was raining. Let me fully embrace the rain. Let me have my heart open to the rain. Let me stop covering myself from the rain and let me be in the fucking rain and receive that rain. And that is the, like, I feel like that's the secret sauce of not faking that gratitude frequency, of like just fully not resisting whatever experience you're in right now. You're not getting clients, you're getting clients, you're having a failed launch, you're not having a failed launch, whatever the fuck it is. It's like, can you just fully receive from that experience, whatever it is, right? It's like receive from the experience, let that experience like pass through from this place of like non-resistance. You're just in it and you're learning from it, you're open to grow from it. And naturally what ends up happening when you move from this like non-resistant place, which is what we've been talking about, is that you just naturally come back to this place of like oneness, so this place of like joy, and it just feels like ecstasy. Like that's the best way to describe it, and it feels like ecstasy. So my answer to that question would be like, don't resist what's happening. Don't like attach expectation on what you think you should be happening, right? It's just like, just fully be, don't even attach to that feeling of like ecstasy of like what it should look like, how you should feel. It's like, can you just like just fully be in the experience? So sometimes what I like to do is just like touch my surroundings to come back here, where I'm just like, okay, what does the remote feel like? I'm here right now. What does my coffee cup feel like? You know what I mean? And it kind of like just brings me back to this now moment. And yeah, like that's how about you? What would you say?
I love that. I love that story of like the rain. But it's funny, it's leading me into something else. What would I say to actually doing it? Yeah, it is. It's the now moment, but it's leading me into, I mean, I could just talk to you
And I
forever.
love it.
But I know I have to finish up. Um, it's leading me into this other I know people might be hearing this and might be saying, yeah, but like that's fine, it's rain, like you can dry your hair, whatever. But I know that you have done that in grief.
Mm-hmm.
I've done that in grief
Mm-hmm.
for heartbreak, that it's
Mm-hmm.
like grieving with an
Mm-hmm.
open heart. And grieving with an open heart is so beautiful. I'm getting chills right now, and a lot of people are like, how do you grieve with an open heart? But it's in the same way. It's not resisting the here and now moment, not resisting that your heart feels the
Mm-hmm.
pain, not resisting that pain, not shying away from it. So it's like, to the same degree that you don't resist the sun on your face, you don't resist the grief, you don't resist the pain, you don't resist the pain and the rain.
Yeah, it's so
You don't resist
true.
the pain and the rain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And,
exactly.
and
And I find that like practicing in those small moments, like the rain, for example, or a cold day or something like inconvenient, it really builds you up to those bigger moments, right? Those really intense like
yeah,
feelings of like, rejection, pain, grief, all of the things.
I mean, we don't know anything about those things.
Not at all.
Just,
I haven't had
If
like 12
anyone
ego
had
deaths
access,
this year.
if anyone had 12, only 12
Only 12,
this
yeah,
year.
I know, world record.
I'm like, if anyone had access to our WhatsApp
I
messages.
know. I always think that. I'm like, oh my God, if somebody get a hold of these.
Oh my God.
Uh,
The
I
tears, the
know.
laughter, everything.
Literally
All
sending you
everything you could
messages
see.
where I'm like trying to like keep my shit together. So funny.
And then, but what I find so funny about it is like I could be like having a meltdown, and then the next minute I'm like, oh my goodness, there's this feather on the road. Like, and it's just like I've just changed.
No, it's like literally like
This is
that.
life
Like we're
bringing
moving
something.
like that. It's so
Yeah.
funny. It's great.
So Shule, thank you so much for joining me today in my first ever Pathway to Purpose. It feels
Thank
like so perfect that it
you.
was you.
Oh, I feel so
Have
grateful to
you
be
got,
here.
I'm so happy that literally yesterday I'm like, will you do this with me? And you're like, yeah. Can you tell the people if there's anything special you're offering at the moment, or how can they
Yes.
connect with you, or are they able to reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah, so actually, so in alignment with our conversation, I literally launched something yesterday and then I changed my mind mid-launch. I was like, actually, it's not this, it's this instead. And then all of the content started channeling through for it. So I was just like, in the name of following your intuition, in the name of not giving a fuck what people think, in the name of you get to do business your way, I was like, I'm canceling this launch. And I've launched the new masterclass on what it was actually supposed to be, which feels so fucking juicy and so excited to share. So that's happening in a couple of weeks. So the masterclass is called You're Too Hot to Be Attached, which is perfect.
Love it.
Perfect for this
Love it, love it, love
conversation,
it.
right? So that's a fun way to come play in my world at the moment. Or I also do personal, like one-on-one work with people. So if you are a spiritual biz owner and you were feeling activated during this conversation, you're just like, yes, 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 you're talking to my soul, come chat with me in the DMs and we can talk about, the right next steps for you. And yeah, I always honor your alignment. I'm like, that's so important. These spaces are really for like that fuck yes person. And yeah, I always honor your no, and I'm always open for a chat. So know that that's open for you as well.
Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much, Shule.
Thank you.
And anybody else, reach out if you have any comments, if you have any questions that you'd like us to go deeper on. I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Shule.
so much for having me.
You're so welcome. I will chat to you in the WhatsApp.
Yes, I'll talk to you there. Bye.
Bye.